Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, meteorologist Greg Majeski, your trusted weather source, bringing you the weather without all that social media hype. Here on your Thursday, April 17th, 2025. Let's go see what we're tracking here for today, as we definitely have some summer-like temperatures that'll be building into the southeast as we go into this upcoming weekend. A lot of areas getting into the 80s, even some 90s out there. That's looking very likely. We are going to be tracking some severe weather not only for today, but it's going to track right into our Easter weekend, and we'll show you specifically who's in the path of these potential storms. And then we're also going to be talking about, because of those storms, some flooding risk out there, especially across the middle portion of the country. Now, before we get going, first I want to welcome aboard and say thank you to any new subscribers here on the channel. And if you haven't yet decided to subscribe, what you waiting for, my friend? Please hit that subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner. Go ahead and hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And as always, if you appreciate this report, please leave me a comment down below or give me a thumbs up. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the big picture here. Looking at the satellite imagery, boy, you got a nice little boom explosion of thunderstorms there moving through Kansas and into Missouri for this morning. That's what was expected there. And got some moisture back here out in the west. Pretty quiet up and down the eastern seaboard. Really looking pretty good here. And out toward the west, we're watching a little upper low energy kind of swing out of Southern California and swinging into the interior. But looking pretty good from Seattle down toward Los Angeles. All right, looking at the big picture, watches and warnings out there. Again, we got some red flag warnings out here, a bit breezy, dry conditions. Got to watch out for the fires here, but look at the winter weather here. Pretty decent snowstorm that's going to be moving through Montana and into Wyoming. We'll show you those snow totals here in a second. Not looking bad there, but we're definitely going to be watching a series of disturbances that'll be rotating out into the plains. That's going to be bringing in some of that active weather. So we have some energy diving down here out of Canada and out through Montana into Wyoming, and we get some more energy coming out of the southwest. So they're going to kind of team up and bring us some active weather. Here's that little disturbance here across the middle of the country, setting off some severe weather. I had a couple of warnings here for this morning. We'll go ahead and zoom in on this area here, just to kind of south of the Kansas City area, seeing a couple of these very hefty thunderstorms through here. Probably some pretty good hail in here as well, with some lightning and some heavy rains. But this is just the warm-up. We'll call this the warm-up act, as we got multiple days of severe weather coming at us. So let's go ahead and take a look at the latest from our friends from the Storm Prediction Center, and we'll see where the severe weather is going to break down for us here across the country. Of course, you see that one little pocket of enhanced, and I mentioned that yesterday. It would not shock me that we have a day-to-day run where we may have a little enhanced area of severe weather. And that's lining up pretty well with what we're seeing here for today. This is going to be for later this afternoon. We got that severe weather coming through there right now, but we're expecting more weather here to the north a little bit later going in toward tonight. So we got that enhanced zone. Let's go and break it down by the category. So here's the tornado threat, again, running about 5% in that enhanced zone. So the tornado threat's not overly high, but it's there. The wind threat will be a little bit more. You see a little pocket of yellow. That's about 15% into that zone. So we're talking about Omaha, and we're talking about Council Bluff, those areas right in there. And then the hail threat, a little bit bigger. You see a nice little pocket there. So it tells me there's a little cold core there that's coming through that. It's going to be setting off that severe risk there, right where that enhanced area is lighting up. All right, let's look at your day two. We're going to have a bigger area of the country is going to be impacted with severe weather going into tomorrow on your Good Friday. So we're stretching here from areas of the Great Lakes all the way back down toward Texas. So that's our slight risk for severe weather. Again, we'll see what happens when we go into tomorrow. If there's a smaller area in this region that could see an enhanced area for tomorrow. The tornado risk, we'll break that down. It's running fairly low, 2%. So we're not worried about that. But the wind and hail threat, that'll be a little bit higher. Obviously running about 15% right along that, the entire length of that boundary of slight risk. And the hail threat generally also in the same zone, running about 15%. All right, so this is going to continue into the weekend. So look at your day three. Here's your day three, a little bit smaller region here for the slight risk here, going through Missouri and stretching back toward Texas. So again, we're talking about Dallas and Arlington and Plano and Garland, Texas, kind of under the gun here, going back in through Arkansas and into southern Missouri. So that's going to be going into your Saturday. And then going into Easter Sunday, going into day four, this is about as far out as they go with their total here. Then on Easter Sunday, we're going to have to watch this zone from Missouri down toward East Texas and Louisiana. That area on Easter Sunday will be under the gun. All right, now with all these thunderstorms kind of moving over the same ground, we're going to have to watch very closely the flooding potential, because that looks like that's going to be going up as well. So let's look at your excessive rainfall breakdown here. This is your day one. This is for today on your Thursday. Obviously, we got that little pocket there across areas of Minnesota and into Wisconsin. So that's our little pocket here for today. And now going forward, now watch what happens here as we go into day two. And we got that slight risk coming up there across areas of Missouri and Oklahoma. That's going to be our target zone, and it's going to stay there. So we're going to see the flooding risk go up even higher going into day three. Going into Saturday, boom, we got a moderate risk here Again, we got these storms kind of training over the same ground. So this moderate risk is going to be coming in through Oklahoma, Arkansas, and into areas of Missouri. And of course, got the slight risk on either side of that. So we'll show you the rain totals on that here in just a second as we break down the model data. All right, so let's go ahead and kick into the models. Let's go ahead and talk about the jet stream. That's our main driving force here for the weather across the country. Again, we got a couple of little features to talk about here. We got some energy here coming down from the Rockies. We got this upper level over what's left of it kind of riding here across the southwest. It's going to be ejecting on out in little impulses of energy that are going to be kind of feeding these storms here going into your Friday. You see the energy kicking up here across the plains here by late in the day on your Friday. So you can see the bigger area of thunderstorms in that zone as that low pressure kind of kicks on out, that upper level low kind of kicks on out of the Rockies. That's what's going to be setting up that energy there for Friday, and that'll go into Saturday as well, going throughout the day on Saturday. So not really much of a change there on Friday and Saturday. Now going into Sunday, this will shift off toward the east, although the dynamics begin to weaken a little bit. Still a little bit of a negative tilt there on what's left of that trough. We've got high pressure down here across the southeast. That's going to be bringing temperatures this weekend. It'll be running, especially Friday and Saturday, be running well above normal there across the southeast because of that ridge. And then this thing begins to kick on out as we go into next week. Now, the good news is for next week, it's looking fairly quiet. This is a fairly flat flow. And also notice the jet stream energy is not very strong, okay? So looking pretty quiet here for next week. I think we got a nice little burst, just like we had the first week of April was pretty busy. We're going to have a good 4 or 5 day period here with some more severe weather. And then it looks like next week's looks fairly quiet, not seeing anything. Now we got to watch this next piece of energy here coming in toward the end of the month. This is the 26th, seeing this energy coming in out of California. And then toward the end of the month, maybe we got to watch for some more active weather, although that jet stream doesn't look all that impressive. But as this comes in toward the 28th and 29th, we'll have to watch that zone there for some more severe weather as we go toward the end of the month. So we got to get through the next few days, get a bit of a break, and then we got some energy we got to watch toward the end of the month. All right, so we're going to break this down. We're going to look at we're going to look at the high resolution model first, and then we'll take the European out for the rest of the forecast period. So this goes out for the next about 40 hours or so. So there's our little cluster of storms. Here's our snowstorm out here into the Intermountain region. It'll be coming this way. And we're going to see the activity generally increasing here as we go through the next 40 hours. So again, watch that timestamp there as we go through the time period here. As we'll see, the eruption of storms. Here's the eruption of storms going in for tonight. So this is going in toward tonight. We got to watch that little pocket of enhanced right there across, right in there. That's what that's lighting up there with the thunderstorms through there. We've got some supercells potentially. And this kind of moves off into Missouri. And we'll see the snows there across the Intermountain region for that low pressure across Colorado, Wyoming, and Utah. Looks like we'll get some decent snows in here. And we'll break down those snow totals here in a second. And again, if we go into Saturday or going into today on Friday, we went through that Thursday. And going into Friday, we're going to have a little more activity. Look, here's the storm starting to fire up. And again, this is that zone that we got to watch for potential flooding with some heavy rains and the storms training over that same ground going into your Saturday morning. So that'll go into Saturday morning. That's just round one. We'll get another more round of severe weather too. It looks like Denver's going to be getting some snows in here going into Friday as well. So my brother, if you're watching, you got snows coming, my friend. I know you probably already know that. All right, let's go ahead and look at the European. We're going to take this further. This is lining up pretty well. Again, we got the snows out here in Colorado. Got our storms here in the middle of the country. So let's go ahead and take this on out here as we go through next week. So we bring these storms again, a stormy weekend right through Saturday and Sunday. All this is going to kind of linger in the same area. We're waiting for that low to kind of kick on out. So there's that low kicking on out of the area there. You see that low kind of pulling up there going into Sunday here across portions of Kansas. And then we'll have to watch this zone here for severe weather going in toward your Sunday. It's going into Easter. So this pulls on out and moves northward. Now looking at Sunday, travel-wise, it's just the middle of the country. Kansas City looks like the worst travel place to be there if you got any travel plans. And then this extends off toward the east. I'm not expecting any of this rain here. This old frontal system is going to kind of linger across the southeast. It'll be a bit of a trigger here for storms, but I'm not expecting anything severe with this. I think next week we'll have some rain around, but not seeing anything next week that may get severe. We have to watch for those individual weaker pockets that may spark up severe, but nothing organized, nothing too bad out there. So going through next week looks pretty quiet. And then we'll watch this upper level energy here coming in off California here to see if that comes at severe weather as we go toward the end of this run, going right through here. There he goes. Kind of kicks on in here toward the high plains, going toward the 27th, 28th. This will be the zone to watch for severe weather toward the end of the month, the way it's currently tracking. Again, this is long range. Anything beyond 7 days, we're looking for model trends and tendencies at that point. So we're definitely locked in, I think, through this upcoming weekend. All right, so this moves on out and not looking bad. Again, not looking at any big storm systems here as we enter into the month of May. All right, let's go and break down the thunderstorm threat here. I'll get the rain threat in a minute, get ahead of myself. This is the K index. We're going to be focusing in through Sunday, all right? So the K index is kind of a measure. It takes different parameters, gets you an idea where those thunderstorms are going to be flaring up here. So again, going through this weekend, we see a little cluster of storms that are going to be going through areas up to the Great Lakes. And then we watch for more storms developing here going into Friday night and Saturday. So we got some more storms kicking on in there. And again, these storms are kind of lined up in here. They're going to be training over the same ground. That flooding risk is going to be increasing here through the weekend, especially going into Saturday and Sunday. And then you see the storms there going into Easter Sunday. Looks like we got a squall line here develop that's going to push off as we get that upper level, that low kind of kicking on out. Here's the low, and here's our storms coming in, going in toward Monday of next week. And then this thing kind of fizzles on out, just kind of pushes off to the east. So that's the way it's currently tracking with the thunderstorm threat here through the weekend. But you definitely have some storms training over that same ground for a lot of hours here going into Friday and through Saturday through the middle of the country, where that flooding risk is going to be the highest. And speaking of flooding risk, let's talk about the rain. Let's go ahead and talk about that. So we're going to look at the next 72 hours here first, taking the end of this weekend. So we're starting to get that as we go into Saturday, start to get that initial heavy rains through there. Some of this obviously will be mountain snows. We'll show you the snow totals here, mostly out into the west. And then as we go through this upcoming week, again, looks like we're going to see some pretty decent rain totals here. Looks like 2 to 4 inches, I think, in the middle of this with some localized heavier amounts. And this area has seen a lot of heavy rain to begin with for this month. And then that trend continues. As I take this all the way out to the end of its run here, look where all the heavy rain is falling here, right in the same zones, Kansas, Oklahoma, and into Missouri. So definitely looking like a wet pattern there in the middle of the country. Let's just go on a bet when we get to the climate outlook. I think you're going to see a big bullseye in that zone because that's where the heavy rain is currently showing. In fact, let's go ahead and zoom in there a little bit closer here toward the central portion of the country. Look at these rainfall amounts here, and I'll take this out to the 0 Z. We're going to take it out to the end of the run here, so you can kind of see what these rainfall amount projections are. So there's a lot of 6 to 8 inches of rain here over the next 2 weeks showing up in there. And again, when it comes to these type of storms, they typically underestimate. So keep that in mind as well. Let's go ahead and talk about mountain snows. Yeah, we got some snows for you friends out there. Again, late skiers maybe going out for Easter weekend and looking at Montana, Wyoming, and into Colorado going into this upcoming weekend. The higher elevations, hey, maybe 6 to 10 inches of some snow, some nice fresh powder out there for you ski fans out there for the weekend. Looking pretty snowy out here across the west, and that includes getting into Denver as well. So any flight or travel plans coming out of Denver, especially looks like going into Sunday, going into Friday and Saturday, that's when that snows really start kicking there Friday and going into Saturday. So that's our snow totals here through this upcoming weekend. So be aware of that if you have any travel plans out there in the west. Now, last thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about our battlegrounds, okay? We talk about our battlegrounds, we're looking at the 850 millibar level. And what we're looking at is we're tracking where the cool air and the warm air kind of line up. That's where your battle zones, that's where your thunderstorms kind of line up. So obviously we're kind of cooler here in the east right now. We got a little warm up here in the middle of the country. Again, those reds are where the warmer temperatures are. So watch as we go through this weekend here. As you can see this plow down, I mean, clearly, look at this. Wow, going into Friday. Yeah, I think we got a frontal system in there. Good bet. So we got the cold air kind of pumping into this warm air here. Very warm out ahead of this. We got high pressure here off the eastern seaboard. It's going to be protected in the southeast through the weekend, but it's also going to mean very summer-like temperatures from Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia here. Look at this ridge. So very, very warm here going into Saturday here from the northeast all the way into the southeast. As you got that frontal system and you got that cold air coming in there. Obviously, the snows across Colorado with that cold core moving in there. So we got that battleground setting up here for the weekend. That's what's going to set up that prolonged area of thunderstorms for a couple days. All right. So this begins to move on off and then get that low pulling off. There's that low finally starting to pull off. I'll have to watch that thunderstorm threat right through there. There's our low pressure. Here's our big high here off the eastern seaboard. It's starting to give ground a little bit. And then we're looking okay. This begins to move on off. And then it looks like just predominantly looking at warmer temperatures here in the east, obviously pretty warm with above normal temperatures here. And just little pockets of some cool air here at the 850 level. That's about 5,000 feet. Now let's go beyond the 7-day here. Let's see what the trend is here. It looks like, again, a lot of the country's lighting up a lot of red. There's some cooler weather out here on the west coast as we head toward day 10 and 11. So cooler out here, very warm here for a big part of the country here as we go toward the end of the month. So I'm expecting a lot of above normal temperatures here to finish off the month. And it looks like that pretty much holds true right through going into May. Got these little cool pockets coming here off the Pacific Northwest. Look how warm it is here across the plains going in toward the 1st of May. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's go ahead and look at your climate outlook here. And obviously what we're seeing here is a lot of warmth on that map, a lot of red. So we're going to see above normal temperatures to finish up the month of April, day 6 through 10th, the 22nd through the 26th. Warm here and near normal out here on the West Coast. Going a little bit further, 24th to the 30th takes us the last day of the month. Yep, above normal. I'm kind of concurring with this outside of those little intermittent little battlegrounds that may set up from day to day. But overall, the trend is definitely above normal with the temperatures here as we wrap up the month of April. And of course, the big bullseye, we're definitely seeing this on the precipitation outlook. This is day 6 through 10, the 22nd to the 26th. I concur with this, basically what the European model is showing overnight. And that stays true right from the 24th to the 30th. So a very wet and rainy period, especially across the middle of the country. Flooding concerns were going to be a problem here as we go through the end of April. The good news, I will say, is that we're not looking at any organized major outbreaks. And, I hate to contradict some of my friends out there in the social media world who want to hype every storm to death. Yes, we have severe weather. I want you guys to be prepared. I want you to be ready to go. But we have enough weather anxiety going on out there without folks hyping storms to death like they're the storm of the century. This springtime, this is the time of year we get these kind of storms. You guys need to be weather aware, weather prepared, especially folks in the middle of the country where flooding could be a problem. Remember, flooding causes more deaths than anything else in the world. So just make sure wherever you're at in the country, if you've got that severe weather risk in your area, stay weather prepared. Make sure you got your weather app on your phone ready to go. I highly recommend having one of these weather radios. I like to promote these a lot. Make sure you got those ready, especially for those nighttime storms and things like that. So again, we are going to see some severe weather. Probably going to see a few tornadoes going into this weekend, but we're not expecting a major outbreak. Now, unless something substantially changes with the models, we're not going to see something that's going to be, say, similar to what we had back in mid-March when we had 100 tornadoes, or a couple of weeks ago we had, 50, 60, 70 tornadoes with that. Nothing on that level. I'm not seeing that here. And with that jet energy not looking overly strong through the end of the month, I'm not expecting any right now. So anyway, I'll keep you weather aware here. And if you'd like to get the straight and eddy on these storms, okay? If you're tired of the hype machines out there, the weather enthusiasts that want to scare you to death and you just want to get it straight, come right here. Give me a subscribe. Give me a, go hit that notification bell so you're alerted when I do my updates. And I do appreciate you guys helping to support our little channel. I know our audience is small because I like to give it to you straight without scaring you to death. That's my forte, I guess. Anyway, all right, that's your update for now. You guys take it easy. We'll talk to you later. Be good, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.